Good evening, Gills fans. Welcome back to another episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It's Sunday night, which means match day review showtime, and it's a fourth game unbeaten for the Gills. Now, of course, under the stewardship of Gareth Ainsworth. His first game in charge was on Saturday as we travelled to Wetherby Road to take on Simon Weaver's Harrogate Town, and we came back home to Kent with a hard-fought 1-1 draw. It was pretty much a game of two halves, a game of two penalty kicks, and probably about the right result, in fairness. First of all, we'll go back to 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon, look at the team news, and there was just one change from John Coleman's final 11. That was Armani Little. 2-game suspension for the captain after picking up his 10th yellow card of the season in the Walsall game last weekend. So he was replaced in the middle of the park by Johnny Williams. Aside from that, it was exactly the same 11 that had picked up a goalless draw against the league leader. So it was Glenn Morris in goal. A defensive trio of Andy Smith, Connor Masterson and Sam Gale. It was Ramo Hutton and Max Clark as the wing-backs. As I say, Johnny Williams partnering the captain for the day, Robbie McKenzie, in the middle of the park. Jimmy J Morgan in the 10, supporting a front two of Joe Bode and Elliot Nevitt. Some returning names on the bench. Tate Holtham, back from Ashford after a loan spell. He was the sub-keeper as Jake Turner has gone out on loan to Dagenham and Redbridge. Shad Ogie back involved. Aaron Rowe as well. Ewan Williams still on the bench. Jaden Clark returned too. Then it was Ollie Hawkins and Jacob Wakeling in the way of forward options. First half, very little in the way of penalty box action, was there? I think if you look at what you'd say things were that were resembling chances, there was an early half chance for Johnny Williams. Ball got played into the box, made its way back out to Max Clark. Good ball from Max Clark. I think everyone was expecting him to load it into the box. Little reverse pass into the middle for Johnny. Got his head up. Good first touch. Just wide of the upright, wasn't it? It was a lot closer than I thought at first. I haven't watched the replay of it on the footage I got for the match day live, and that would have been some return to the starting 11, wouldn't it, for Johnny? But it wasn't to be. In terms of Harrogate Town, not a lot either. Glenn Morris had to field a couple of shots from distance from the edge of the box that were fairly routine, and for all the world it looked like it was going to be a game that was going to be 0-0 at the break. Lots of balls into the box, lots of delivery from corners and set plays. Both teams trying to use their long throw. Poor old Ramo Hutton was thrown into a wind, so he was struggling a little bit. For the opening goal, I think it's probably no surprise that it had to come from a spot kick. Such was the lack of quality in the final third. Long ball down the middle of the park. I'm not sure whether Connor Masterson got caught out by a gust of wind, but he just doesn't get in the right position to head it, does he? Ends up flicking it back towards his own goal. Their man gets in behind. Glenn Morris has to come out and try and deal with it. Unfortunately, there's a touch past him and he wipes out the centre forward. Spot kick, yellow card for Glenn Morris, no arguments for me. And to be fair to Josh March, he tucked it away fairly comfortably, didn't he? So it was a familiar story for Gills, conceding a softish goal as the half-time whistle went. So it was up to Gareth Ainsworth and Richard Dobson to get into the players, potentially make changes. We said again, myself and Nick, we didn't think the Jimmy J Morgan experiment was working as a 10. How long do you call it an experiment though? How many games does he have to play there before it stops becoming an experiment and becomes routine? But whatever we call it, I don't think it's working. Certainly with Johnny Williams playing deeper as well, we looked a little bit lightweight. That was Nick's concern before kick-off. Johnny wasn't getting enough of the ball in good enough areas, and we was just a little bit too easy to play through in the middle of the park with just Robbie McKenzie in there as the defensive option. Second half though, I thought we were loads better. There was no changes in terms of substitutions straight away, and the game didn't really change in terms of its pattern, did it? It was still both sides being decent enough in the middle third, but struggling to find any type of composure, the right option, or when they did pick the right option in the final third, the execution was not good enough. We certainly had, I think, the first half chance, didn't we? Johnny Williams, good little reverse ball, running in off the right-hand side, flick of the outside of his boot for Joe Bode. For all the world, it looked like Joe was just going to let it run across his body and shoot towards that far corner, but for some reason, he had a touch. I don't know whether he was, I don't know, I'm not sure, but something wasn't quite right with Bode on the day, and he was brought off shortly after. He just everything he tried didn't come off, unfortunately. It was one of them afternoons for the young striker. But yeah, I thought he could have had a shot. You know, worst case scenario is Belshaw palms it back out into a dangerous area. Best case scenario is it finds the bottom corner. But shortly after that, he was replaced by Ollie Hawkins, and Jimmy J Morgan as well was replaced by Ewan Williams. So it meant Johnny going further forward. Williams played in the left side of that central midfield too, which gave us a bit more balance. It allowed Johnny to get further up and dictate the game in better areas. And I felt we took control from that point. The goal comes with about 20 minutes or so to go. And it's Ewan Williams and Ollie Hawkins, both off the bench, who are massively involved in it. Ball gets played into the box. Ewan Williams shows good feet to have a shot. It gets blocked. Ball spins towards Ollie Hawkins, and he looks like he's just going to turn and pull the trigger, have a shot at goal, and the defender just runs through the back of his ankles. It's another stonewall penalty. I don't think there was any arguments from the Harrogate fans as well. And we spoke to Neil, who'd done the preview show after the game. We bumped into him walking back to the coach, and he said, no qualms about either spot kick. Max Clark, somewhat surprisingly. Although Andy Smith picked it up at first, that would have been even more surprising. And I was absolutely fine watching the penalty. I was confident that Max was going to tuck it away until Nick started shouting out, be aware of any rebounds, be alert. And I'm thinking, oh no, surely not. Surely don't let the keeper save it. But Max tucked it away really, really well. Again, got to celebrate in front of 500 plus Gillingham fans, which was absolutely astonishing, given the fact that it's essentially a dead rubber and it's a long, long way to go. So fair play to each and every one of those Gills fans. It's great to be a part of it. I thought we was the better team. Like I say, in that final 20 minutes or so, we looked like the side that was going to go and win it. There was a couple of half bits for Harrogate. There was one ball that came into the box. Glenn punched it. Their bloke tried to lob it from the edge of the area into the empty net, and luckily it went over the bar from our point of view. But in terms of playing through us, they didn't. Everything that come into our box, Andy Smith, I thought was really good. Connor Masterson, Sam Gale, really good as well. They all headed it and put their bodies on the line. Both wing backs were solid again, and both have been really good for a few weeks now. I think Ramo Hutton and Max Clark. There's another chance, wasn't there? Ball broke after Harrogate had flung a ball into our 18-yard area, and Ollie Hawkins looked like he's been fouled. Referee played the advantage. Ewan Williams, channeling his inner David Beckham from all of about 45 yards, saw Belshaw off his line and went for goal. There was just a fleeting second where I thought it had a real chance, but unfortunately from our point of view, Belshaw got back and managed to make a comfortable catch in his 6-yard area. But it was us being bright and us being confident with the ball, wasn't it? And trying to use it better. Everything felt a bit rushed and a little bit hurried in the first period. We then made another change. I think Johnny Williams had run himself to a standstill, and that was one of the non-negotiables in Gareth's press conference, wasn't it, earlier in the week? Everybody has to empty the tank, to quote our manager. And yeah, I thought Johnny Williams did that in a slightly alien position first period of the game, and then he started getting on the ball more in more dangerous areas as it went on. He was replaced by Jaden Clark, our top scorer, who's been missing in action for a few weeks. I thought he was really bright when he came on. There was another chance straight away. Jaden was involved. The good thing about him playing in that 10 was that he was able to sort of just be here, there and everywhere. So he drifted out to the left a few times to try and find space, and he beats his man on the outside, stood up a really good ball for Ollie Hawkins at the back post. Just slightly behind him, wasn't it? It may have hung up on the wind, but Ollie does his best to wrap his big left boot around it. Does that, and it goes over the bar by about a yard. I mean, if that had gone in, there'd have been bedlam in that away end. But it wasn't to be on that occasion. But again, it was two substitutes coming on and having a positive impact. That wasn't the end of the chances for Gills. Well, we made one more change, I think, didn't we, last 5 minutes? Elliot Nevitt, again, who'd put in an absolute shift without much service and without anything in the way of a clear-cut chance, was replaced by Jacob Wakeling. Another ball into the box. Andy Smith this time on a diagonal. Ollie Hawkins header from the penalty spot. I'm not sure whether Belshaw thought it was going wide at first, but then he sort of had to hurry across his line and shovel it away, and they managed to clear. And the final one came to Jaden Clark. Again, it was a really good ball. I think it was Ewan Williams who was willing to punch balls in between the lines rather than just going square all the time. And that was great to see. And I thought he played himself into contention to start on Tuesday night. Jacob Wakeling tries to just bring it under his spell with his right foot, but as he does that, the defender gets a toe on it, and I, for one, thought it was in. Jaden Clark hits it first time from near the edge of the box, and it flashes just wide. Belshaw was absolutely rooted to the spot. Said as I came out of the ground with Neil, the Town fan, that, first half they were better than us. They didn't really create anything clear cut. They scored their penalty and took the lead. Second half, I thought we was much better. We managed to pin them back, and we were better with the football. We looked more confident with it, certainly after the leveller. And I said a draw was a fair result, but we had a lot more in terms of decent chances in that second 45. I know there's a chance for for Harrogate right at the end, isn't there? The ball gets played into the box and someone flicks it just over the bar. Did we deserve to win it? Maybe. Let me know. Comment down below or comment on social media. I'm still leaning towards draw was probably fair. But yeah, just to sum up, we started well, didn't we? We looked really bright. There was an energy about us, which you'd expect with a new manager coming in. We then reverted to type a little bit and became nervous, and everything became a bit bitty in the game. I've already said I don't like Jimmy J Morgan as a 10, and that's not his fault. I just think it's a position that's alien to him. He doesn't look comfortable in there. He's not big enough to play that role, I don't think, and it leaves us exposed when the ball gets turned over because he doesn't naturally drop in like a midfielder would to help out. But again, it's more experience for the young man. We looked a lot better when Ewan Williams went next to Robbie McKenzie and Johnny went into the 10. Ollie Hawkins made a huge difference. Like I say, it was just one of them days for Joe Bode where nothing really stuck. Can't fault his work rate and his endeavour again. You could tell he was getting frustrated fairly early on. But he's young, he'll learn. But yeah, kudos to Gareth Ainsworth. Positive substitutions, was trying to win the game. Positive from the start as well, playing an attacking midfielder in an orthodox central midfield role. Whether it worked entirely, I'm not entirely sure. But, you know, hats off for the bold approach. And yeah, all of Ollie Hawkins, Ewan Williams and Jaden Clark had a real positive impact on us going forward. When they were introduced, I like Gareth's post-match, gave praise where it was due, but he fully understands that this is the start of a long journey to make us a lot better, to get us to where we want to be, wherever that is. So yeah, all in all, a good day. I've already mentioned the pies a couple of times on the match day live, but if you've not watched that and you do go to Harrogate Town, get the full Monty. Cost you about a tenner, but it's well worth it. Really, really good. It's essentially a full dinner. What's not to like? Just want to end tonight with a little word on John Coleman, because I did the episode in the week when Gareth was announced, and I don't know whether it sort of got lost in a little bit with all that. I did mention him, but I just wanted to say credit to John Coleman because he's coming in a really difficult period, and I didn't think he was the man to take us forward longer term, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend otherwise now. He didn't win enough football matches for us. 2 in 14 was not good enough. But what he did was he got us playing for the badge again, and I think he returned a little bit of pride to the football team and the football club. We can all look back on that day at Barrow, which was absolutely horrendous. And he went to town on those players in his post-match, didn't he? But let's hope that was a bit of a watershed moment, because since then, I don't think we can fault the application, the desire, the work rate and the willingness to play for that badge. Whether we're good enough to win more football matches, that remains to be seen between now and the end of the season. And that's why Gareth Ainsworth's been brought in on this project. But yeah, I just wanted to say, you know, thank you to John Coleman and Jimmy Bell, because it's difficult coming in to a situation that they came into. They've never been down south before. They're a long way from home. And we're 4 unbeaten, like I said at the start of the episode, and 3 of them were under John and Jimmy. And it was only 2 defeats in their final 9 games, albeit lots of draws. But when you're down the bottom, draws are almost important as wins, aren't they? Because you're in and around other sides that are losing a lot. So if you can pick up a few points by drawing games, certainly away from home, then it starts pulling you away from danger, doesn't it? And it is only 2 defeats in 10 now, so we are starting to see progress, albeit very slowly. We're not going to become free scoring, we know that. But it'd be interesting to see what Gareth does on Tuesday. I wonder if he does ditch the back 3 and go to a slightly more forward-thinking approach with some wingers, given that the likes of Aaron Rowe and Jaden Clark were back in the 18 for Saturday's draw at Wetherby Road. But yeah, I just thought it'd be a good ending today to just say thank you to John Coleman and Jimmy Bell, because it was tough. Like I say, they weren't for me for the longer term. We might not have been for them for the longer term, but they came in and steadied the ship somewhat, didn't they? As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. The views again have been brilliant in the match preview and the match day live over this weekend. So your support is always appreciated. It never goes unnoticed. Please consider hitting that like button. Please continue to press subscribe. It is free, like I always say, and it means the world to me. Just a note on next week, we'll be at Priestfield for match day live for the Colchester game, but there will be no content for Salford City. So that's no preview, no match day live and no review show. I'm very busy next weekend, family stuff, so didn't see the point in doing a preview and then no other content. So go and check out the ME7, go and check out the view from the Medway Fancast, and of course go and check out Reese's German Gills. match day reaction videos, all brilliant stuff from a variety of Gills fans that all give us a different perspective on the football club that we love. Yeah, like I say, be back Tuesday for Match Day Live. I hope you've had a good weekend. And of course, the most important thing, up the Gills.